It's a crazy thought, but the more I think about it, the more I wonder, are Nintendo in the middle of a great experiment to find which Mario RPG franchise works the best? Is this a split A-B-C test taking place over the course of a year? And what does the future hold for the bevy of Mario RPG franchises that are now awake and available on the Nintendo Switch? Let's wind back. Let's say you wanted to set up a test, a fair test, properly scientific. You wanted to test to see which is the most successful form of Mario RPG. How would you set up that test? Well, first you'd need to have all the types of Mario RPG, line them up. Then you'd need to find the best versions of them, the very best. You don't want an unfair comparison. They need to release on the same system and in the same kind of release slots. Not exactly the same, that would never work because it would take too long to run the test, but let's say 6-month intervals and 2 of them in the prime November slot. How would that sound? Now, I'm not saying that this is what's happened. I'm not saying that it was a deliberate test to put Super Mario RPG out in November 2023, Paper Mario the Origami King out in May 2024, and Mario & Luigi Brothership out in November 2024. But that is what Nintendo has now achieved, deliberate or not. 6-month intervals, 3 RPGs representing the whole gamut of Nintendo-created RPGs. There is even an argument for counting Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope in this list too, but given that it was separated from the others by a whole year, and its future as a franchise is now uncertain after the recent news about Davide Soliani, let's stick a pin in that one for now. But still, 3 consecutive but different RPGs gives Nintendo an extraordinary amount of data. I'm not just talking about sales data, although that will certainly get attention, and that is something that we may be able to delve into in the months ahead. I don't even mean polls and quizzes, although clearly they have been showing interest in that through their recent surveys, particularly on the Thousand Year Door. I had a questionnaire through from Nintendo connected to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and it had nothing but the absolute bog standard questions. Not a hint of the kind of rapt attention they were paying to even minute details of the Thousand Year Door. No, I mean all the data that we don't even think about but that Nintendo surely tracks. How long we play, at what points we log off, how many sessions, how old and how young are people playing particular games, how casual or serious are the players. Even if Nintendo did not plan this, even if it was just happenstance, somewhere in Nintendo Towers, that data now exists or soon will once Mario & Luigi joins the ranks of Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. This is the perfect A-B-C split comparison test. 3 games, otherwise almost entirely equal in circumstances, and I don't doubt for one second that someone at Nintendo is going to be looking at that data, now or in time, with some interest. So, was it intentional? Was their big plan all along to ABC test their 3 RPG franchises from Mario? First of all, let's look at what this testing really means. A-B testing, or in this case ABC testing, is simply using the scientific method to apply not just in a lab but in product development. It has grown to particular popularity on the internet. Even YouTube has the option to A-B test different thumbnails now, and among the kinds of companies Nintendo would have been dealing with in Hollywood, the concept of this kind of comparative testing would have been very well ingrained. For example, Netflix outlined on their blog their version of it, saying the general concept behind A-B testing is to create an experiment with a control group and 1 or more experimental groups called cells within Netflix, which receive alternative treatments. Each member belongs exclusively to one cell within a given experiment, with one of the cells always designated the default cell. This cell represents the control group, which receives the same experience as all Netflix members not in the test. This is the way that Netflix is able to micro-target its thumbnails to draw you into yet another binge session. Of course, there are limits to this strategy. Swapping thumbnail pictures to encourage more people to watch an otherwise dubious Netflix classic is not the same as determining the direction of these games, which require years and years to make. It's not just Netflix that do this either, though. Ubisoft also experimented with A/B testing, at least as far as their websites. Reportedly, they collected visitor data using heat maps, scroll maps, click maps, and surveys, and analysed the data to build a strong hypothesis for testing. The hypothesis was to reduce the up and down scroll and simplify the entire buying process. Now, Ubisoft websites may still not compare to developing Nintendo games, but it is possible that Nintendo might have seen the attraction of comparing three somewhat similar, but definitely still different, Mario RPG franchises. I think Nintendo realised that after the Super Mario Bros. Movie, they wanted to marshal their narrative Mario titles together. Paper Mario was easy enough to wrangle. That was the only long-term Mario RPG still going, and they could put it on the front foot by bringing back the most popular and acclaimed of the Paper Mario titles. Mario and Luigi was apparently easy enough to reassemble the team for, since many of the employees from Alpha Dream seem to have been able to return to the fold after all. And then there is Super Mario RPG. Although that would have been legally a bit trickier, I don't suppose they needed to charm Square Enix for too long before they managed to get the band back together to recreate that game. Perhaps it was just that they thought the arrival of the Super Mario Bros. Movie combined with the huge success of the Switch made releasing all these classic series a no-brainer. After all, it was high time for a new Paper Mario anyway, and Mario and Luigi was well overdue, so it was just Super Mario RPG that bucked the trend by coming back when it did. And since Nintendo were in the business of wrangling these old properties to get them onto Nintendo Switch Online, perhaps the chance to return to Super Mario RPG naturally came out of those discussions. And yet, whatever the reasons that led us to this point, now Nintendo sits really able to consider its position in a very deep way. We already have a hint at sales so far. Super Mario RPG is over 3.3 million. The Thousand Year Door went off to a very good start, although detailed figures will be sent out in a few weeks. And Mario and Luigi Brothership, well, that's what we will soon see later on in this year. I guess there are now, before Nintendo, three broad options available to them. The first one is just to keep all three franchises going. By all evidence, the market can support multiple Mario RPGs with different flavours. Having rebuilt the beautiful world of Super Mario RPG, Nintendo and Square could pull an Echoes of Wisdom and cannibalise the assets from the remake game and make something brand new. Then Paper Mario games come out like clockwork anyway, and hopefully the new Mario and Luigi developers are able to stick with the brothers for another game or two. Before you know it, 3 years in the next 4 could see new but different Mario RPGs just from continuing the setup that they have already put together. Now, there are some complications. Chihiro Fujioka, the director of the original Super Mario RPG and the former boss at Alpha Dream, made a statement to say that he was not involved with the remake but was pleased and surprised at the news, and he has also separately touted the idea of a Super Mario RPG sequel. Now, clearly, many people, not just him, could devise a sequel game to Super Mario RPG, but given that Nintendo are keen to get the director of the Thousand Year Door aboard the remake, it would surprise me if they didn't at least listen to Fujioka when he said recently that he wanted to do another Mario game. Specifically interviewed around the release of Super Mario RPG, he said, "In my career, I've been involved in a lot of games, and I would really like my final one to be another Mario RPG game if possible. I would like to go back and create a Mario RPG different from Mario and Luigi, where you're only controlling Mario." If the 64-year-old thought he'd hit retirement before that was an option, perhaps he now has a reason to push back taking his pension and give the overall adventurer another chance to shine. A second option is that Nintendo chooses its own runners and riders based on what they've seen this year and last year. Mario RPG is likely to be the first to get the chop if it's a case of comparing the three, given that it relies on a third party in the form of Square, but Nintendo work with third parties all the time, even on their major franchises. Heck, there's even a Mario RPG precedent, as Mario plus Rabbids shows that they're happy to work with another company and even allow Mario to be published under another company's label if the deal is right. Given how long established Paper Mario is, it would be surprising if it were to be shunted off and Mario and Luigi has only just resurfaced. Still, it's possible that they may want to make strategic decisions about what to commission and also what to leave. Of the 3 Mario games in this ABC test, one is a remake, one is effectively a remaster, although seemingly a very comprehensive one, and only one is original. I'm sure this is at least partly a question of budget. Yes, Mario games do make back good money, but Nintendo do not have infinite resources, and in particular, they do not want to split the attention of their very top people by overextending them across too many games. They can't all have completely original entries in all the series all the time. Then again, what is impressive about all 3 of these types of franchise is that they do have very different supervisory arrangements, with Takashi Tezuka focusing on Mario and Luigi, Kensuke Tanabe on Paper Mario, and it remains to be seen if anyone becomes a permanent producer on future Square Mario team-ups, if such things come to exist. The third option, of course, is to spin the bottle and come up with something new, using the lessons of all the previous RPGs to synthesize a completely new Mario RPG experience. The lead developers of the Mario RPG titles are aging fast. Takashi Tezuka is 63, Kensuke Tanabe is 61, and of course Chihiro Fujioka, if he does return, has seemingly retired, but still talks of carrying on. We can guess that the baton will be seamlessly passed, but since Mario RPGs have long been experimental, what if the next titles include further experimentation of this kind, and in fact are more radical departures than that we've seen so far? Another possibility is they look to broaden the base of characters. The switch is over on with Mario titles, but what about other Mario Universe games featuring different characters that they may want to push into the spotlight? We had Princess Peach Showtime to give us some more Peach, but perhaps Bowser or Rosalina deserve a turn in the sun. If Risa Tabata fully takes over Paper Mario from Kensuke Tanabe with the next game, could Nintendo task one of their few female producers with giving us a different type of paper game, bigging up one of their underutilized female protagonists? Paper Peach or Paper Daisy perhaps? Or perhaps they see the partnership with Square as an opportunity to create a Mario RPG that fills a slightly different niche from the others, and creates a bridge from Mario gamers to more traditional RPGs, perhaps including mild crossovers with any of the many Square Enix RPG kingdoms. Maybe it's not just Super Smash Bros. Where Mario and Cloud could hang out. After all, while all 3 types of Mario RPG, 4 counting Mario plus Rabbids, have different themes and aesthetics, the games still feel broadly similar in nature compared to each other, at least as compared to, say, the difference between Mario Kart, Mario Tennis and Super Mario Bros., which are clearly very distinct indeed. I guess there's an equivalent in Zelda, where there are subgenres of games that are still broadly action-adventure titles. There's 2D Zelda, 3D Zelda, open-air Zelda, and even recurring styles within these, such as Toon Link and Diorama Link, but there aren't concurrent series going at any one time. Occasionally some of these types of games get sequels, but there's no comparison to the long-running Paper Mario or even Mario and Luigi franchises in Zelda. The Zelda titles are far less stylistically homogeneous, although to be fair with Paper Mario, there has been certainly a large degree of experimentation in terms of the gameplay over the years. At this point then, I think there is a 90% chance that Paper Mario will continue and there'll be some kind of new entry by the end of 2029. Without knowing Mario and Luigi's reception and sales figures yet, that is a slightly trickier one, but only slightly. Every previous Mario title on the console has done superbly well, and Brothership is clearly a beautifully animated, high-impact game in a plum slot that will surely do as well as previous titles, if not even slightly better if they market it really successfully. And once Nintendo has assembled a team for the game, will they really want to let Mario and Luigi go again unless they absolutely have to? I'm going to give the chance of a new Mario and Luigi by the end of 2029 a 90% chance as well. Finally, Super Mario RPG feels like the most distant prospect, with Developers Arte Piazza, usually responsible for ports, remakes, and even sometimes modes within games, such as the 2D mode within the latest Dragon Quest. Creating a whole new game from scratch would take a lot more work. All things considered then, I would put a new, Square-designed Mario RPG before the end of 2029 as a 30% shout. Still a distinctive possibility, and it wouldn't surprise me to see it, but it's also quite possible that this was a one-and-done celebration of a classic Super Famicom title. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you want to support the Nintendo Forecast channel on Patreon, I really would appreciate it. The link is below, and you'll see various cool things over there as time goes by. Thank you so much, particularly to those who have already signed up. In the meantime though, have a great day and see you next time for another Nintendo Forecast.